Okay, today we are playing a game on Oasis. We are in the Silver SR range, and we will be playing Pharah the entire way through. And our current team composition is D.Va, Zarya, Doomfist, Pharah, Junkrat, and Mercy. So, it is sad that we only have one healer. However, the only healer is Mercy, and that's the important thing. It is also sad to have a Doomfist. It is also sad that we do not have a hit scan DPS, so if they have a Pharah, we'll be pretty sad about that. However, I will remind you this is also Silver SR, where it drastically doesn't matter what our team comp is, because they probably don't know how to play their heroes correctly anyway. And that's why you shouldn't worry about team comp until you're in, like, Diamond, when people actually know how to play their heroes. So let's start the game. So today's game is quite short, because it is a King of the Hill game that only lasts 2 rounds, and indeed, not very much happens, really. There is one interesting part with a Bastion, and that's about it. And what I noticed while watching this game was that this person is pretty good mechanically at the game. Certainly better than your average Silver Pharah player, who I would expect to be really, really bad. But here's the thing. So we ask ourselves, alright, person's pretty good at playing their hero. Definitely better than your average person in Silver. Why are they still in Silver, then? So, the thing that I noticed was, basically what we do in this game is we just kind of rock around the map, doing our own thing, and just sort of killing whoever we happen to stumble upon, without any really great thought process to it, really. We just kind of roll around, and basically play like it's deathmatch. And that's fine in a game like this, where the enemy team is not interested in playing like a team at all, and are also bad. However, if the enemy team are decent, or indeed employ the unusual strategy of not running around like monkeys, it gets a little bit more difficult. Like, we pull off this maneuver, which we shouldn't really be allowed to get away with, where we have slid over this on the opposite side of the enemy team to attack the Widowmaker and the McCree. We kill the Widowmaker, and then before McCree even realizes we are there, we have killed McCree. And then we get to come back over here, take part in this fight, and kill most of the enemy team basically by ourselves, including 2 people we didn't really have any right to kill, in a position where we didn't really have any right to kill them. Because if Widow shoots decently, she kills us. If McCree isn't blind and deaf, he also kills us. So, we get away with it, and also we didn't even have our jump jet when we did that, so if we ended up in a bad position, our options would be hope concussive blast is enough, or they just don't kill us. So, and basically this is what we do. We just kind of go around the map doing things, and sometimes we get away with stuff like that we shouldn't really get away with, because the enemy team isn't really interested in playing the video game that much. So, the reason that I would suggest this person is probably still in Silver is there's not really any team play that happens, because no team play actually happens in this game. At one point we say regroup because we got wiped, and then that's about it. Not much really happens, and we never really get punished. We basically just go around finding a couple of people now and then we shoot them. And, yeah, we win the game, and it's not really very close. But we are still in Silver. And, like, we get away with that, even though we're doing it right next to people who should kill us. Like, there's a Widow, a McCree, and even a Mei can, like, shoot us in the head, right? Like, it's like, we get away with stuff we shouldn't really be allowed to get away with because the enemy team is bad. So, if this is no team play and no real, doing stuff that we shouldn't be getting away with, what's actually, like, good team play? Just hang out with your team, really? Like, Pharah players are especially prone to this, as are flanking heroes as well, where they just kind of go off on their own and do their own thing and don't really worry about the team at all. They're just, like, kind of roll around trying to kill people, which is exactly what we do right here. Pharah players are very prone to this. You're basically still just meant to hang out with your team, really. Like, you know, it works out in games like this where the enemy team don't play well. as they generally will in Silver and Gold SR. Here we find the Bastion, and we die because there is the Bastion. However, we have a Mercy, so we are revived, even though half our team is still dead, so we shouldn't still be fighting right now because half our team is dead, and we're basically just trying to take on the entire world with nothing but a Mercy to support us. Like, we should just leave at this point. We're trying to take on the whole world, and we can't take on the whole world. And that's why the way we're playing doesn't work out if the enemy team actually plays like a team. Because you're by yourself trying to take on the world, but the world is slightly more than one person, so it doesn't really work out. You're kind of just meant to hang out with your team, and the advantage that Pharah has over someone like, say, Soldier is that she has access to a line of sight that Soldier doesn't have, which is in the sky. And generally, the advice you give a Pharah player is, like, you just still hang, like, we're not allowed to do this. This is where we get punished for this kind of thing, because we're trying to take on the world, we're trying to take on people we're not allowed to try and take on, and we get punished for it. We're meant to just, like, hang out with our team and, like, poke at the enemy team constantly and try and kill them. And, like, try and pick people off, and then generally do a lot of pressuring, because we do a lot of damage as Pharah, and it's from an angle that's difficult to block because it's in the sky. And hopefully you have a Mercy playing with you as well. And on a map like this, it's pretty straightforward, because the idea is just sort of, your team is probably going to be generally in this area, assuming you haven't just taken control of the point, in which case you move forward. You are going to be in, like, this area, so if you're playing Pharah, you hang out in the sky and just sort of use the side walls as cover. This is an important part of playing Pharah. You have to think about cover in the third dimension. Because another common issue with Pharah players is they'll just jet up into the sky and then float over the enemy team and get killed because they're just floating out in open space with no cover. And perhaps drag Mercy to their death as well, because the Mercy follows them through open space where they have no cover and they get killed. You have to actually think about cover in the third dimension. So the idea is just that you hang out around these corners, and then, you know, maybe you mix it up a little. Maybe you decide, alright, I'm tired of this corner, I'm now going to go around here and I'll do a little poking from the windows. Alright, now they're kind of onto that, so I'm going to come back around this way. And if you have your ultimate, and you've got, like, a Zarya on your team, maybe sometimes you'll go off on the flanking mission where you're going to go behind the enemy team. In which case, this is usually pretty planned out, because, like, when you're doing that kind of maneuver to get in position for barrage, you usually don't want to do any shooting while you approach, because the entire point is sort of to get behind them and then flank them with barrage. Or combo it with the graviton, whatever. So that's usually pretty planned out. Otherwise, you just hang out in the same area as your team and you poke and prod at people. And then if you watch some, like, a really good Pharah player like Valkia, what they'll usually do is they'll sit around poking from a lot of different locations and, like, build up their ultimate. If they see, they'll play rather Genji-esque, where they'll, like, poke from a lot of places building up their ultimate. If they see somebody low HP, they dive on that person and fucking kill them. And then the rest of the time they're just poking from a lot of places, constantly building up their ultimate, and then they, like, get behind them, or they just wait for the fight to start, and then they just, like, fly over with concussive blast ult right over the enemy team and kill everyone. There's not usually very much just, like, go off and do your own thing, because that's how you get killed. And even if you are flanking, you have to make sure your team are still there doing something, because if your team aren't there doing anything, you flanking just becomes the front line, and the entire enemy team turns on you. So, and, like, if you watch, you know, we watch this game, you know, it's not, like, incredible mechanical play or anything, but, like, it's pretty good. This is actually a really good concussive blast, because it scatters the entire enemy team and leaves Bastion exposed. If our team was not silver players, they would hopefully be able to capitalize on the sudden split up of the team. Like, right now, we're flying into this McCree, which we definitely should not be flying into, because he has the flashbang, and we should have died for that. If the McCree was a little bit better, the McCree kills us. You just hang out with your team and, like, poke at people and do damage and pressure people, and you have access to this area in the sky, which is annoying to block from, and that's good. And, like, right now we're just trying to, like, we're trying to Goomba stomp Bastion, which we shouldn't get away with. Like, this is not, like, if the Bastion just looks up, we die. If the Zenyatta puts the Discord orb on us, we super die. We're not allowed to do that either. Like, yeah, we're pretty good mechanically, but our positioning and team play are not very good, because we have no respect for what the enemy team has, and we just kind of go up and, like, start fights with McCrees and Widowmakers on our own, and, like, we get away with it quite a lot, which we shouldn't. And we are not doing anything with our team at all. We're just rolling around the map, doing our own thing, playing like it's deathmatch. Overwatch is a very team-focused game. Every hero in the game, like, revolves around playing with their team in one way or another. The flankers are a little bit unusual, because they do go off and do their own thing. However, they still play around their team, because if you're flanking and your team is not doing anything, you're not flanking anything, because there needs to be a front line to flank. If there isn't, the entire enemy team just turns on you. And, like, okay, yeah, when you're playing Pharah, you'll Goomba stomp some people, because you just, like, land on them and shoot them, and it's easy to kill them. There are some people you're not allowed to Goomba stomp. You're not allowed to Goomba stomp McCree. You're not allowed to Goomba stomp Bastion, because they just kill you if you do that. You can't do it to Widowmaker, because you've almost never get into a position to do that, really. Like, we play way aggressively, we don't play with our team, and while we're good mechanically, being good mechanically carries you through this kind of game where the enemy team is not playing together, and they are, like, this McCree's just over here by himself. Why is he doing that? He shouldn't be doing that, so we kill him. Great. If the enemy team plays together, the way we play in this game gets us super punished, because we just get killed. We get punished a few times in this game, because the enemy team decides that they actually want to play together. The Reinhardt, by the way, was definitely not allowed to do this, where he gets knocked way up into the sky, and then starts using Hammer Down, because he gives everyone, like, 20 minutes warning the Hammer Down is coming. And now we're off on our own, doing this thing over here by ourselves, and we end up getting killed. And we actually win the game before we even get back again. But, like, and we miss out on that whole arrangement, which could have been our play of the game. Oh. But, yeah, that's, this is a game where not very much happens, and indeed we win. We win the game without even being there for the final fight, because we died right at the start of it, and we won anyway. Do we see the play of the game? Looks like it. Yeah, it's a game we won, and there wasn't much to it. Which generally there isn't very much to say about the game, because it is short and you win. Usually a game where you win is not as good as a game where you lost for getting feedback. However, even though we win this game quite handedly, I still see the basic issue that this player probably has, which is no team play, just playing like it's a solo game. Overwatch is a very team-based game, and you have to play around your team. With Pharah, that is hanging out around your team, generally in the sky, poking and prodding at people, trying to pick people off, and then big barrage play that kills the enemy team. It is very Genji-esque when you think about it, where it's just largely about, like, poking and prodding, killing people, like, getting picks on people, and then killing the enemy team with your ultimate. But Pharah's not as survivable as Genji. She's not as maneuverable as Genji. She's more maneuverable than people take her for, but she's no Genji. You have to actually, like, hang out with your team and do stuff with your team, because if you don't, you get punished. And you have to respect what the enemy team has. Like, if they have a Widowmaker, McCree, or Soldier, you have to play safer, because they will kill you if you don't respect the fact that they can kill you. Now, it's not as easy to counter Pharah as people think it is, because they always just go, why doesn't the Soldier or the McCree just shoot the Pharah? If it was that simple, if it was as simple as people say it is, seem to think it is, Pharah would be the worst hero in the game. Because it would, oh, I'll just pick McCree and shoot her. It's not actually that simple, is it? The thing is with Pharah is that if they have those things, you just have to acknowledge they're there and, like, play around cover more and, like, not peek corners when you're, like, low health, because they might suddenly kill you if they shoot you in the head. And it's harder to kill a Pharah that's, like, actually playing well. Like, it's quite hard to kill those people. Especially a Soldier who has to shoot the Pharah and the Mercy multiple times. If you're hanging out near your team and playing around cover, it's actually really hard to kill them, and then the Pharah still gets to do Pharah things. I think a really easy example is the first checkpoint on Hollywood. Because what most Pharah players do on that map is they just kind of start floating over the point. Like, they go over the house, they start floating forward and trying to shoot down and kill people. What you're actually meant to do is, like, hang around the buildings and the archway and, like, poke from various points around that. and then you try and pick people off, you force the enemy team off of the high ground if they're on it, either by shooting at them or knocking them off with concussive blast, and then you wait for the team fight to start, you go over and you kill them with barrage, or you just like float over them at that point and start killing them, because the team fight's happening under you. But people don't do that. People get way too excited when they play Pharah, and they go forward trying to play like it's Quake, and they just want to go and kill people. You gotta actually be more restrained than that, because otherwise you just get killed, because a Pharah that isn't positioning well and is just playing by herself is just a floating duck in the sky. Whereas a Pharah that's actually like playing with her team and constantly poking corners and making it really hard to actually kill the Pharah is the kind of Pharah that tilts the enemy team, because they look at the soldier and the McCree and they go, why is Pharah still killing us even though we have these hit scan heroes? Just shoot her, even though it's not that simple. They think it is, and then you tilt the enemy team. So that's what stood out the most in this game, not playing with a team and just kind of playing like it's deathmatch. So thank you very much for watching. If you did, if you have any questions, feel free to ask. I'm more than happy to answer, and I hope you found the video helpful. God, English is a hard language.